Hello everybody. Today we are in the studio and we're going to talk about how to mix a basic rock and roll song. It's going to be awesome. So this song is called Two Switches. It's from my latest record, which you can hear all of for free on YouTube on my channel. A bunch of other places too, man. It's 2020 now. Yeah. Pardon my voice and stuff. I've had a cold and junk for a week. But you got to keep going, you can't be sick forever. So what we're going to do today is go over this song right here, Two Switches. It sounds about like this. Here's a chorus.
There are two light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD. The two switches will torture me, 'cause one of them is always wrong.
So we are going to go through the vocals. This is a very simple song. It's also done in a very simple manner, production-wise. This was done well over a year ago in my little bedroom studio, and I had just gotten hold of the Slate digital plugins, so I was in the middle of substituting kind of their plugins for what I had been using, which was a lot of Waves stuff, a lot of the same similar type stuff, but Waves. And so there's a little bit mixture of processing styles of what I it's not exactly what I would do now with a lot of this stuff. And you'll also see I've got like the Motu reverbs, not even like they're good ones, like I use the low CPU reverb on on all of this stuff. I use two of them, one for probably drums and one for the rest. I don't know, we'll see. We're gonna look into it. There's two Mini Moog models from Arturia. So there's two synth lines that are happening up in here. There's an Easy Drummer instance, so my drums are definitely coming from Easy Drummer, which are on. Easy Drummer. So nowadays I'm in the studio here and I have out in the room an actual drum set to get that stuff done on. But when this was done, it was still your very standard bedroom situation. The only thing live happening were vocals and guitar and bass. So 3 vocal tracks is what the vocals are. 3 guitar tracks is what the guitars are. 1 bass track, 1 drum track, 2 synth tracks. So let's go ahead and let's start with the guitar. For me, when it comes to songwriting, I generally start with a guitar or a piano. It depends on, I guess, my mood. I'm going to do different stuff on different instruments. So I even might, pick up something else entirely. But generally, those are my mainstays. So let's listen to what's going on with the mid-gain guitar. That's going to be it's going to run through the whole song. And usually with a rock song like this, and for absolutely certain with my rock songs like this, verses you'll see, like heavy guitars will pop out during sections. And so like this one, the verses don't have heavy guitars. And then for the chorus, they all come in, bam, big panned, heavy, wide guitars. And so, but still, I didn't do a lot of them. Still, don't really, if you do them good, you don't need a lot of them. A lot of people do 10, 12, 15 guitar tracks. 3 is cool. I don't have time for all that, or didn't at the time. So, anyways, to each his own. All this is very subjective, man. There's no one right answer for anything. But so let's hear. Not at all the start, but here's the start of it.
It excels at the task of conquering darkness and fighting the fear that the darkness can bring. But there's one thing I take issue with, and it rocks me to my core. There are 2 light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD. The 2 switches will torch.
so here's how we're processing that track. Nothing fancy going on. So we're going with the Neve console components. The actual console model we're running here is the SSL E model through the Slate All Access Virtual Mojo system. So the we're driving at a good deal. You'll see it's up at 65. And then over here, a lot of the sound that we've got on this mid-gain guitar track is coming from this Neve EQ, which has a fabulous thing going on in the mids. You'll probably hear that elsewhere. I think I did. Last week I saw someone talking about the mids, the awesome mid sweep on this EQ module. And so hear what it's doing. We'll turn it off. Listen to these guitars. And so it's good to note that, it's good to solo things and see how they sound, and you might want to fix this part, or that part of that sound, that track, that timbre, to suit a certain need. But then you always want to put it back in the mix before you let that go, because everything's always going to sound a little bit different in the mix. It just is. It's the nature of the beast. And so... what makes me say that is as I, turn that on, it's like you get used to it sounding full, and then you turn that EQ on, it's like, holy shrill Batman, that's crazy. Why, But when you put it in the mix, especially with a bass, with some synths, with vocals, and then those heavy guitars, you don't need the bottom in there. The bottom really is getting filled up by other stuff. And so if you were to have a boomy bottom, or even a roomy bottom, or even a gloomy bottom on this EQ module, it might step on some other things, and overall it might not sound as good. So that's what's going on with that guitar. Now, while we're talking guitars, let's go ahead and bump ahead to the chorus section, where we hear all three guitars come in. And let's not do that, but we'll put that playhead back a little bit. And we'll go ahead and get the other guitar track soloed and let it. And so you can see when I pull that mid-gain track out, you're like, it's not quite right. It's got to have all three to me. It's my personal taste. I love having all three. And so you then throw a bass guitar on the bottom of that, and let's see. I don't remember what's our point. We want 3. Set a start point there. And that's why I want to have that mid-gain guitar in there. It really fills it out good. So, I add the bass, I add the drum, and you start feeling the kick, and the highs are filled out with the cymbals, and the whole thing is just, it's beautiful, man. I don't know who says stuff like that. I don't say, what? Other guys say stuff like that, man, not me. Other guys are much better saying, than me. That's a little Mitch Hedberg for you. So next in line, we can hear that bass a little more specifically. I don't know how I would have processed this bass. Preset strip, basically. And I've got a Neve EQ really throwing up at 3.2. Let's hear. it adds a lot of air on top. I don't know how crazy I am about that bass tone at all. But that goes to show, I'm sure, for starters, I didn't spend any time on it. The signal coming in doesn't sound good. The channel was turned down too low. It's great. Let's do a tutorial on how not to make music, man. Don't do it like this, dude. This is terrible ideas. No, this is fine. You can do these things. And this sounds like a thing that I saw Steven Slate do in a tutorial about the high mids and cranking the daylights out of them on bass. And it sounds good. I like it. The compressor is just a preset. This looks pretty low. The ratio is 2:5. That's pretty mild. Attack and release are kind of deadpan. So there's just nothing fancy going on here. It's a good example of how your bass doesn't have to be perfect and your song will be okay. Now, you can't have. It is often good to have some nice gritty sounds and tones coming out of your bass. A lot of people add grit to it, even distortion. Double up a bass track, add distortion to the second one, like mix it in. Everybody has their own taste and do different things, but that's what that bass sounded like. You heard the drums, I think, by themselves. This is the sound. So we've got basically a distressor model on the big drum room preset, which is throwing a 6-to-1 compression, and I didn't do anything with it. You just let it ride. Adjust the input gain if you need to. And I don't remember if I needed to or not, but that's that. Little bit of a boost up high. That was not intentional. It was about 7K. We're boosting 2.5 or so, 2.6. Then at 3, we're giving a tiny smidge at +1. Then at 758, we're coming down 1.25. And at 240, we're not doing anything. There is a low shelf at 25. I don't know what we're doing there. A trimmer. Doesn't look like I'm doing anything with the trimmer. And that's the drum sound. There's really not a lot that you got to do with these drums, with these Easy Drummer drums. I sometimes I have a whole John Bonham preset where I made them sound as closely as I could to that the Bonham tracks, which I might do a video about that. That was kind of fun. How you can make something really just sound drastically different. A-Bing and matching this and matching that. It was fun. But anyways, that's the drums. And then the vocals sound about like this.
There are 2 light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD. The 2 switches will torture me, 'cause one of them is always wrong. Down the hall is a place that can take down a man or a woman too. There's no discrimination. Without a good light, you might take out your toe. You might run into a wall. So let's all thank the light. But there's one thing I take issue with, and it rocks me to my core. There are 2 light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD. The 2.
So you can see what we're doing with the vocals here. I assume it's really pretty basic stuff. There is, of course, a trimmer on the front, and it looks like we're boosting our signal for this lead.
There are 2 light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD. The 2 switches will torture me. Is one of
Really, I seem to be driving the daylights out of this guy. So I'm just, I must have wanted to distort that thing a little bit that day, which often I do. I like to drive all this stuff, especially this stuff that's like analog models and stuff. You can see I've got the console itself's driven up 14. I like to hit it hard. You could see that was getting way in the red on the console meter, and that's fine. If it sounds okay, it's okay. If you like it, it's fine. At the end, there's, it's always something to be said for a mastering process. And on the end of this project, I can see right now already I've got Slate's digital limiter thing. So, you don't want to be unreasonable and blow out get your levels and really screw up gain and stuff like that. But at the same time, if you want to push your stuff, push it. So our harmony vocals, a little less is going on, it looks like. So that's our harmony vocal versus, just trimmers is really the only difference. We've lost the trimmers. Let's see how bad we're jacking.
There are two light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD, and the two switches will torture me, 'cause one of them is always... There are two light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD. The two switches will torture me, 'cause one of them is always wrong. Down the hall is a place that can take down a man or a woman too.
Say you're also here, you can totally hear you're hearing like a chorusy thing happening on the vocals. Let me show you what that is. So it's not on that one. Maybe it's in one of these tracks. There's chorus stuff going on. Oh, I bet it's on the group channel. Okay, it is. So on our group channel for the Vox, if we go into insert 2, so I'll just point that out. First of all, we're giving earth and air, some bottom and some top, to the whole vocal mix through our vocal master fader here. Not much else. We're shelving a little bit on the bottom, way down, 52. We're compressing still a little bit more here, to squash the whole thing a little bit, and that's all. Now, after that, you'll see this plugin I used to use a bunch for vocals a while back. It's the Eventide Ultra channel, which is a great channel strip plugin. It's fantastic. It's got all the stuff that you would want in a channel strip. I like the micro pitch shift at the time, and so that's what you're hearing on this stuff. We can hear the difference.
There are two light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD
that just puts a little tiny sheen on things. And that's the vocals, and really that rounds out the mix, doesn't it?
There are two light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD. The two switches will torture.
So the last thing to talk about here, and we can talk about, the mixing and stuff. If there's, I feel like there's not a lot to talk about when it comes to like just the straight mixing of stuff. You saw how I EQ'd stuff, and if I didn't get the point across, make it clear that it's good to leave room for everything to fit in the mix. Picture the spectrum from the bottom to the top. And if you've got an EQ that has a spectrum analyzer, like where something or some kind of plugin you can put on a channel, even if you don't know already, put that up there. So like I'll show you an example. If we wanted to look at this mid-gain guitar, and I wanted to see where is this thing like coming, like where is it showing up in the frequency spectrum, then what I would do is put on something like, this one will work, this Air EQ thingy. It has a spectrograph, is that what it's called maybe? And so this mid.
There are two light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of
And so you can see exactly where, and of course that that one's taking up a large bit of the frequency spectrum, but we know once you get down low under 100, it's banking off. Up over 5, it's banking off. It's sitting in the middle where we want it to, and so that type of thing is what you want to do when you're mixing. And there's tons of mix tutorials on the internet. You can find out all about it. There's even charts, man, that show up in my Instagram that are like, this is where every instrument fits into the spectrum. So you can shortcut your way through all that stuff, or you can look at your stuff, see it's exactly where it is, and adjust accordingly. Honestly, when it comes to my music, a lot of times I fly through this. I sit down, I write a song as I'm recording it, and I'm mixing it, and I'm doing the whole thing, and I'm done 4 hours later, and I don't ever come to it again. And that's just how it is. That's how I flow. So for me, it's really about getting my workflow and my tool set to the point where that's what I can do. And then when I listen tomorrow to that thing that I did yesterday, I don't go, holy crap, that's terrible. Like, I thought that was super fun and cool, but it sounds like junk. At least it's going to sound as good as it can, kind of, for the situation. So that takes us to our master fader. And what we have there, simple virtual mix bus, nothing fancy there. Then we've got a compressor. This is like the SSL 4000 compressor, I think, model. And we're not driving it very hard. I think I might push it down into it dances on -3 there, After that, we've got a virtual tape machine. I love this. Adds good flavor. Nowadays, I put one of these on every single channel in the whole project. For absolutely. I might not do it while I'm tracking, just due to CPU usage and stuff like that. But sometimes I do. It doesn't take up a lot of CPU usage. But I love it. I can really, like, pieces that are rock and really fill up the frequency spectrum, you can hear it like so well. Light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD. The two switches torture me, 'cause one of them is always wrong. It's like, maybe because I'm seeing that light turn off, but I swear it's like a light turns off on it when it's off and back on. I love it. It's got a nice little tonal characteristic that's very, very subtle, but it's very nice. And so, light switches for the same one. Lastly, we're coming through this Slate thing. Now, I used to do send out a 2-mix like anything else, and then open a new project and master it from there. And I was just like, I'm getting tired of doing that. And so I don't notice much difference, if there's any difference, from just putting it on the master fader and just like go. I mean, because there's not much in mastering. My mixes, I get them as good as they can possibly be before they hit this point of getting beefed up and all that kind of stuff. So there's plenty of mastering things. If I was ever really wanted to make something sound good, I'd send it to a proper mastering engineer, which I am not. So since I'm not, I just do this. Now sometimes I also do put some parallel compression before this. Let's give that a try. Let's see what happens if we put a parallel compression before that. So that one go down, and let's do the MU, and let's smash the daylights, crush 2, pull our mix all the way down. So a lot of times what I used to do is run a separate stereo mix track before the master bus, and on the way there, run the whole mix, or most of the mix, through this compressor, and then kind of mix it into taste. And you're smashing the daylights out of it, which is, it's weird, it's strange, sure. I didn't make this up. This old technique that's been around forever. And so if you listen to just this, it's awful. It's squash, nutso. It's horrible. But the two mixed together often is magical. So let's see if this is one of those magical times. I'm going to start bringing the mix. And so I just put this because it's got a mix knob. I can kind of do the same thing by adjusting the mix knob. So let's see as I bring it up to probably like a max of 50, if we can hear any difference. Light switches for the same one light, and I've got a little touch of OCD. The two switches will torture me, 'cause one of them is always wrong. The hall is the place that can take down a man or a woman too. There's no discrimination
switches for the same one light, and I've got a loop.
Got me on that one. I don't hear much of anything happening. But anyways, that rounds it out, man. And yeah, sometimes it works, man. Sometimes I hear stuff, sometimes I don't. That's audio. It's trial and error. Some things work here, some things don't work so great there. Whatever. But that rounds it out. That's the program for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit of something. I hope you are going to charge ahead and make you a dope little rock track. There's nothing easier in the world to make than a dope little rock track like this. Just think of something stupid like 2 light switches in your hallway that don't agree with each other and write a song about it. Easy peasy, right? So, anyways, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day, evening, or whatever you're at. Hit the little subscribe thingy down here and you won't miss any of the upcoming greatness that you know you don't want to miss. So, on that note, that's funny, isn't it? Talk to you later. See ya.